Hello everyone, welcome back to Ansarkari. So today we'll be taking up the next topic as the multilateral development banks. So what are these? And then we're also seeing in even in newspapers that we're talking about reforms in them. So these MDBs, they originated after World War II. It means post 1945. And we have come across this term several times as they were established as Bretton Woods institutions because there was a conference in Bretton Woods 1945. So back then, the main purpose behind setting up these MDBs was to for the reconstruction purpose in the war-ravaged nations and stabilization of the global financial system. So these were the two main purposes. So their main objective or function was to fund these infrastructure or reconstruction projects. That could be infrastructural, then energy, education, environmental sustainability. So we can say it uh, overall focused upon the recovery of those countries. So the goal of these MDBs is to issue grants and low cost loans, loans at lower interest rates to improve the economic conditions of the impoverished and developing nations. And member nations also from developed and developing countries, they are also providing loans, grants to the member nations to fund the projects. So it is happening. Like it can be like developed countries can be providing certain loans to developing countries via these MDBs. So that's there. It cannot be direct in nature, but indirectly or in the background, this is the mechanism which is functioning. And then there are several types of MDBs. So two types. First is which includes largest and best known institutions, and they are giving loans, extending loans and grants. And they're often distinguished between poorer and borrowing members and wealthier and the non-borrowing members. So wealthier or non-borrowing members would be the developed countries. And these here we can say we can talk about third world countries or the LDCs or the developing countries. So the most popular, the largest known, or the institutions which we can say that they are too big to fail. It includes World Bank, IMF, and at the point of time, the Inter-American Development Bank was also there. Then second type includes the ones which are formed by the governments of the LDCs, the low income countries that can then borrow collectively via these banks in order to secure more favorable rates. So basically, this would help them in having more stronger bargaining power. So collectively, the developing countries can push for a particular amount, or we can say for the low cost loans. So, for example, we have the Caribbean Development Bank, founded in 1969. So these are the two types, and here are certain examples of the major MDBs like European Investment Bank, International Bank for IBRD under the World Bank Group, Asian Development Bank, and then Inter-American, European Bank for Reconstruction. So all of these are the examples of the major ones. Then MEGA, again, it is one of the part, or we can say one of the groups under the World Bank. Then there were, so we can say this is one of the demands of the reforms uh, of prospects for scaling up the MEGA. So we talked about what is the main purpose of MEGA, Multilateral Investment Guarantee Agency. So it is clear from the name only. So can Oshik, you can explain this thing in one or two sentences that what is the main function of MEGA? Oshik,
क्या मानसी?
what is the main function of MEGA?
You can specify.
We have discussed this before, Karuna. It is a part of World Bank Group, MEGA, Multilateral Investment Guarantee Agency. So I mentioned this thing in detail. What is its function and the objective? Okay, so MEGA, it basically it is investment guarantee agency like for the trade which happens through the sea. So the goods which are transported or traded, it provides investment guarantee for that, and at the same time it provides investment guarantee for, we can say, certain investors in a particular country. And if suppose there is it provides insurance against even the political factors also. Suppose there is certain there is suppose political instability is created in a particular country suddenly out of the blue, or suppose there is any kind of natural disaster which is there and there is destruction to, we can say, the establishment of a particular investor in that particular country, so it provides investment guarantee against the losses and the destruction. So this basically it encourages more of investment. So this is the main function, and the fourfold agenda of India's G20 presidency includes the following objectives. So as we're talking about reforms in these MDBs. So one is enhancing the agility of these banks to tackle the 21st century challenges, because we've just seen that these were formed after the Second World War during 1945. Their main purpose was rebuilding those economies, helping them in recovery. But now we can say the global geopolitical order has changed. It has shifted towards certain newer challenges which has emerged of late, like the bigger one is the climate change issue. Second is the second demand or part of reforms which is demanded is ensuring prompt resolution of debt and debt related matters. So here also it is like developed versus developing countries. Third is establishing a global regulatory framework of the crypto assets beyond the central bank jurisdiction. And fourth is expanding digital infrastructure to meet the growing demands. And yesterday also we talked about that IMF is also introducing its central bank digital currency. Similarly, India is also, like RBI has introduced e-rupee CBDC. So there also we talked about that the countries need to be on the same page. They need to have a consensus on what can be the uniform standards as far as those digital currencies is concerned. Otherwise, if that is not met, then the advantage would be taken up by the cryptocurrencies. They would be filling up that vacuum, and which is again not a desirable scenario. So here we're talking about the regulation of cryptos, the digital public infrastructure is important, debt and debt related matters, and then the 21st century other challenges, enhancing the agilities of these banks, how they can better help in tackling those challenges as far as the finance, or we can say more cooperation is concerned. So focus the government is on four fronts: infrastructure, investment, innovation, and inclusive growth. So besides several investor friendly reforms undertaken by the government. So apart from these are the main focus areas. So NK Singh, sir, he is again the former chairman of the 15th Finance Commission. He unveils MDB reform roadmap. So what points he has highlighted? We say some report highlighted need to triple the annual lending levels to $390 billion per year by 2030. So these are, we can say, certain forecasts that certain amount of financing would be required. So here the role of again MDBs becomes important in raising that amount and making that available to different countries as per the need. Then second is that these included the African Development Bank's pioneering efforts on the hybrid capital and the use of special drawing rights for this purpose. Then Asian Development Bank's program to add $100 billion to lending through the expanded guarantees. So these are all about, we can say, financing only. NK Singh sir said that to build better banks, converting MDB models to co-create multi-year programs, focusing upon on priority sustainable development, green energy transition, and the global public good theme, subjecting country platform 75 respondent satisfaction. Then channeling 50% to additional lending aid should be through the country and the regional platforms. So these are certain ideas that is proposed. And he also recommended that external financing gap can be broadly within an average of 3% of the GDP. So this he suggested that external borrowing or external financing, the level should be up till 3% of the GDP. And okay, this is important. Global infrastructure facility. This can be looked into more detail, tripling of the pipeline of bankable projects in tandem with this. So the strengthening local capacity. So these are certain in the technical areas. So MDB should reinforce the cascade principle by refraining from financing what should be done by the private sector. So here, what do we mean by this cascade principle is that it should reinforce this principle. Cascading effect is that you take one step and it has multiple effects over a wider scale, over a broader scale. So as we say that it can be said that it has the benefits of economies of scale in terms of the impact on larger scale that it can have. So it can refrain from financing what should be done by the private sector. So it is also an important point key. It should not jump on to financing each and everything, each and every project. It needs to interfere or play its role only when we see that private sector, it is meeting up to the expectations as far as again the financing of the projects is concerned. After then, the role of MDBs become important. So cascade principle should start after that point. So this is what he is stressing upon. And then GCFM, it is a, we can say it is a graph convolutional fusion model. Best supported projects within the broader improvement could serve as an accelerator for the delivery of the global public good. So we can take this keyword. This is a type of, again, graph convolutional fusion model. Okay, now we'll take up the questions regarding World Bank, IMF, and all the multiple areas that we have covered. So first sentence is we have to spot the correct sentence. So in terms of the short-term credit delivery to the agriculture sector, district central cooperative banks deliver more credit in comparison to the scheduled commercial banks and the regional rural banks. So you can guess whether or if you're sure also whether this is right or wrong. It is saying कि agriculture sector को जो loans दिए जाते हैं district central cooperative bank ज़्यादा देते हैं compared to scheduled commercial banks and the RR.
Scheduled Commercial Bank.
So this is incorrect. So one of the most important functions of these, the district central cooperative banks, is to provide funds to the
True.
primary agriculture credit societies. True. Only two is correct. Then most of India's external debt is owed by the governmental entities. External debt owed by governmental entities.
False होगा क्योंकि वो प्राइवेट बॉडी से उठाया जाता है ना, मोर ऑफ द एक्सटर्नल डेट.
I also think, मैं sure नहीं हूँ, but मेरे हिसाब से भी it should be private sector. Then all of India's external debt is denominated in US
ऑल
dollars.
गलत है, मोस्ट ऑफ द होगा.
Denominated in US dollars, ठीक है. Then what is the purpose of setting up the small finance banks in India?
मानसी, इन प्रीवियस क्वेश्चन वो पहला वाला स्टेटमेंट पे क्या हुआ आंसर आपके अनुसार?
मेरे हिसाब से यहाँ पे इसका पूछ रहे हो ना, इस वाले
हाँ.
हाँ, इसमें प्राइवेट
हाँ.
सेक्टर का ज्यादा होना चाहिए मेरे हिसाब से भी. जो एक्सटर्नल डेट है दैट
तो
शुड बी
मतलब
बाय
कैसे
प्राइवेट.
पता लगा आपको?
वो
एक
ही
बता देना आप, ठीक है?
हाँ ठीक है. नहीं, रीजन यहाँ पे यही है कि वीसी की गवर्नमेंटल एंटिटीज जो है, और इंडिया में हम हमेशा इस चीज की बात करते हैं कि एक छोटा पार्टी है जो हम फॉरेन बोरोइंग्स के ऊपर डिपेंड होते हैं, बट प्राइवेट सेक्टर का ही यहाँ पे ज्यादा होगा फिर, क्योंकि गवर्नमेंट तो डोमेस्टिक सोर्सेस से रेज करती है मनी, जो बोरोइंग्स भी है. तो मेरे हिसाब से यहाँ पे प्राइवेट ही होना चाहिए.
ठीक.
पर्पस ऑफ सेटिंग अप द स्मॉल फाइनेंस बैंक्स क्या है? टू सप्लाई क्रेडिट टू स्मॉल
सप्लाई क्रेडिट होगा पहला, सही है.
टू स्मॉल एंड मार्जिनल फार्मर्स.
गवर्नमेंट एंटिटीज ही मतलब प्राइवेट ही करते हैं पहले वाले क्वेश्चन में, थर्ड नंबर में जो इससे पहले क्वेश्चन हमने लिया.
ठीक है. थर्ड
नहीं
टू
नहीं, मैं आपसे
क्या बोल
जो
रहे हो?
इससे पहले लिया उसकी जो फर्स्ट स्टेटमेंट है वो आप श्योर हो उस पे?
नहीं, श्योर नहीं है ना, वही तो बोले, कंफर्म करना पड़ेगा.
नहीं, वो आपका गलत है. वो उसमें गवर्नमेंट एंटिटीज ही लेते हैं सबसे ज्यादा, प्राइवेट नहीं लेते हैं.
ठीक है.
भेज देना ग्रुप में का प्रवेश.
पर इट शोज प्राइवेट बिजनेसेस, मैंने सर्च करा था.
अरे यार, एक ऑफिशियल सोर्स से कंफर्म करके बता दो, वरना फिर कंफ्यूजन हो जाएगा. प्रवेश कुछ और बोल रहा है. ओके, देन थर्ड यहाँ पे एनकरेज यंग एंटरप्रेन्योर्स टू सेट अप द बिजनेस पर्टिकुलरली इन द रूरल एरियाज. तो पहले दो तो होगा इसमें, ये तो करेक्ट है ही है. एनकरेज यंग
पर्टिकुलरली इन द रूरल एरियाज,
स्मॉल फाइनेंस
तो
बैंक्स.
ये
एनकरेज यंग
हो सकता है क्योंकि पर्टिकुलर इन द रूरल एरिया, अर्बन भी तो होना सही, लेकिन कोई स्टेटमेंट रेडिकल ज्यादा नहीं है.
हाँ, हो सकता है ये भी ट्रू.
डी होना चाहिए.
देन इंडिया
ईज
रैंकिंग.
ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस वर्ल्ड बैंक
हाँ, ये
होना
तो
चाहिए.
ये पूछा है इसमें. डिक्लेयर कौन करता है? ग्लोबल फाइनेंशियल स्टेबिलिटी रिपोर्ट इज प्रिपेयर्ड बाय
स्टेबिलिटी रिपोर्ट आईएमएफ होना चाहिए.
OECD होना चाहिए मेरे हिसाब से.
IMF
फाइनेंशियल स्टेबिलिटी आईएमएफ है.
फाइनेंशियल स्टेबिलिटी रिपोर्ट. आर यू श्योर?
यस.
यस.
ठीक है, तो IMF है यहाँ पे. टर्म रीजनल कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव इकोनॉमिक RCEP ऑफर कौन इज अफेयर्स ऑफ.
एशियान.
हाँ, आसियान है. यूरोपियन स्टेबिलिटी मैकेनिज्म यूज इट. व्हाट इज दिस? यूरोपियन स्टेबिलिटी मैकेनिज्म agency created by you to deal with the impacts of millions of refugees arriving from Middle East.
तो ये बी होना चाहिए. प्रोवाइड
Trying
फाइनेंशियल
to
असिस्टेंट यूरोजोन कंट्री
with
होना
all
चाहिए.
the bilateral multilateral agreements on trade. deal with conflicts arising in member countries, stability mechanism, financial assistance to eurozone countries. तो आई थिंक यही हो सकता है. बायलेटरल मल्टीलेटरल एग्रीमेंट्स ऑन ट्रेड, ये तो होगा नहीं, ए भी नहीं होगा मेरे हिसाब से. स्टेबिलिटी मैकेनिज्म, रिफ्यूजीज अराइविंग फ्रॉम मिडिल ईस्ट, ये नहीं लग रहा है. तो ये भी कंफर्म करेंगे 13. मोस्ट प्रोबेबल सेकंड ही होना चाहिए. रिसेंटली विद द फॉलोइंग करेंसी हमने देख लिया है नंबर ऑफ
रैन में
टाइम्स.
भी.
China. Then International Monetary and Financial Committee can the following statements: it discusses matters of concern affecting the global economy, advises on the direction of its work. This is true.
ट्रू
The World
एडवाइस होना चाहिए.
World Bank
ट्रू
participates in-
ऑब्जर्वर.
हाँ, both are true. Then Basel III Accord, in simply Basel III
बैंकिंग सेक्टर बी.
banking sector reforms and improve this. The problem of international liquidity is related to the non-availability of dollars
Dollar and other.
and hard currencies.
डॉलर एंड अदर.
Which of the following issues the global economic prospects report
वर्ल्ड
periodically?
बैंक.
हाँ यार, तो World Bank है. Which of the following brings about the public world economic outlook?
IMF या आउटलुक है.
World Economic Forum भी हो सकता है. I think World Economic Outlook by IMF. I don't think so. World Bank हो सकता है इसका. एक बार इसको
ईयरली 2 बार IMF ही होगा।
IMF है मानसी.
Only Mansi, when we are speaking, we are pretty sure.
और यहाँ पे हमें ये कंफर्म करना था इसमें. 13th यूरोपियन स्टेबिलिटी मैकेनिज्म.
मानसी जी भी है इसका.
ठीक है, ओके, थैंक यू प्रेरणा. तो ठीक है, यहाँ पे सारे क्वेश्चंस एंड होते हैं. सो थैंक यू सो मच फॉर ज्वाइनिंग अस ऑन आंसर कारी, टू सब्सक्राइब टू आवर चैनल.